call has been forwarded to voice. Your call has been forwarded to voice. Your call has been forwarded to voicemail.
Hi guys, welcome to today's video. Today we're going to be doing the mid-year freakout tag. Who cheered? I cheered. You cheered. We all cheered. Wah! If you can't hear already, I'm sick. I'm getting sick. My throat is sore. My nose is sometimes runny. It's not an amazing time for me, but the fear of not recording this and waiting until I was better and then missing another Wednesday upload, it was too much. That's Chris finally phoning me back.
Hello?
Hello, how are you? Okay, now we're back on track. Welcome to this video. Today we're doing the mid-year freakout tag. I've probably said that about 4 times today. If there's one thing we learned from that last vlog, it's that I love to be repeating myself. Miley just went for a long walk and we've had to throw cold water over her to cool her down because she's panting. So sorry if you can hear that, but there's nothing else I can do. What was I saying before I got interrupted? Oh yes, I'm sick. So my throat is sore. You can probably hear it in my voice. I debated putting this off until maybe I felt a bit better in a few days time, but see if I got to Wednesday and I hadn't recorded it. All 19 of you would have been so disappointed. So I had to just do it now. And I have this, and I also have my June reading wrap up to post, so we really got to stay on the ball. The mid-year book freakout tag is something I've been watching on BookTube for years. Even whenever I was watching other people do them, I would mentally answer the questions in my own head. So you guys feel free to do that and let me know any of the answers to these questions that you guys can think of, because I don't know if you know, I like to read. I'm always looking at book recommendation. Please let me know any that you think of. And without further ado, and before Miley spontaneously combusts, let's get into the video. If you're worried about the candle behind me, don't be. I'm watching it, guys. I'm watching it. Don't be stressed. So question number 1 is the best book you've read so far this year. I just went straight to Goodreads and looked at all the books that I had rated 5 stars this year. 4 stars and the 5 stars, because sometimes the 4 stars just need a bit of time to marinate and then you think to yourself, that actually was a 5 star. And the shortlist for this question ended up being between Sunrise on the Reaping, Say Nothing, So Late in the Day, and Great Big Beautiful Life, if you base it solely off my ratings. Sometimes you just give a book 5 stars because of how it was in the moment and not because it's necessarily a 5-star book. So my winner for this question ended up being So Late in the Day by Claire Geoghegan. Look at the size of this book. 128 pages. Sorry, I don't know where I got that number from. It's 47 pages. It's 47 pages long. And it's incredible. I'm in awe at Claire Geoghegan's ability to say so much with so few words, so few pages. She is the epitome of why say many word when few word work, because she does it so well. You can tell every word in this book is expertly chosen. The sentence structure is so meticulously thought about. It leaves such an impact. I was in awe at it, and you can maybe guess why I picked it up whenever I'm concerned about my Goodreads challenge. And I was just so blown away. She is an incredible author, an incredible short story novelist. I also read Small Things Like These before we went to see it in the cinema. It was so good. It was incredible, and I've read Foster by her as well. But I think the next book I'll pick up by her is Antarctica. I remember that getting a lot of hype in Waterstones at the time, but I understand why. I think she's a fantastic writer, and all of her books would be highly anticipated. Should be highly anticipated. This story follows a man called Cahill as he travels home from work one long weekend, one sunny Friday afternoon in Dublin, and we spent the whole time in his head. He thinks about a woman called Sabine who he was previously in a relationship with. We assume previously because it is quite melancholy tone that surrounds this book and this whole narrative. As his story starts to unravel and his time spent with Sabine is laid out in front of us, we kind of realise that maybe his interpretation of events aren't the most honest. And as well, there's something significant about this date that he is travelling home, and by the end of the book we find out why. Basically a snapshot of where his life is now post Sabine. I read it last week and I'm still thinking about it, and it's so short. I can't keep saying that it's so short because you guys get the point, but it's not as if I spent hours and hours and hours invested in a storyline, and so obviously I'm still thinking about it. It just made such an impact and I really loved it, and I would recommend it to anyone else trying to get their Goodreads goal up or just wants an easy read. It doesn't get easier actually. And it is a book I will be lending to my friends if they ask, so if you want it, come get it. Chris you'll be reading this actually whether you want to or not, but anyone else it's optional, so I've got a copy. Second question is the best sequel I've read so far, and I don't even have a shortlist for this because I've only read one sequel this year. Because I'm assuming we are talking about books that I've read for the first time this year, then I've only read one sequel. But if we weren't, I would be saying The King's Men from the All for the Game series. Book 3 specifically. If we're classifying it only as books that I read for the first time this year, I suppose we could count Sunrise on the Reaping because it's a prequel, but I was specifically thinking book 2 in a series. So I've only read Glass Sword by Victoria Aveyard. It is the second book in the Red Queen series. It does win by default because it is not my favourite book in that series. I'm still yet to finish the series, but I do have higher hopes for the last book, I think. The second book was good and it made me want to continue with the story. I just found myself getting a bit bored, but it is still a very good book and the series as a whole is very well written. And I know there is that discourse going on at the minute about Powerless and Red Queen, but Red Queen was published first, so I won't be reading Powerless and I will be finishing Red Queen. I also spoke about this book further in my February reading wrap up as well, so feel free to go and check that book out if you want a breakdown on what that series as a whole is about. But I would recommend it to anyone looking a dystopian read. It is targeted to primarily young adult readers, but I enjoyed it at the ripe age of 28. Third question is a new release that you haven't read but you want to. My shortlist for this is My Friends by Frederick Backman. He is an autobi author for me. I love him so much. One of my favourite books is Bear Time. I will be reading My Friends and Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales. I really want to read both. I do own My Friends because Chris was nice enough to buy it for me whenever I realised it had already come out. So I do now own that one. And then Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales, I'm waiting until it comes out on paperback, or I might read it on my Kindle if it goes into the 99p sale. But I just own the other two in paperback, so I'm probably just going to wait to read that. I'm not sure if Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales is the final book in the series, but it is book 3. So I'm very much looking forward to reading that. And if you're looking a cozy fantasy mystery diary written aspect book, I would really recommend that series. Stakes are high, but they don't feel stressful, and it's just an enjoyable read in general. My Friends by Frederick Backman is focused on, I think, 2 timelines. So one more modern that is looking at a girl's experience with this very famous painting that features 3 boys and how she interprets the painting. She kind of want to find out the story of these 3 boys that are featured in the painting. And then the timeline also reflects back to those 3 boys and the summer they spent together that inspired this painting. I am very excited for that one. My Friends probably is the one I'm most excited for, but only because I love Frederick Backman so much. I know I'm going to love that book. Even though I'm not even too sure what happens in the book, I know I'm going to love that book. He's just such a fantastic writer. I'm so excited to read it. He has shorter books as well, and some that have been turned into movies and series. If you're also interested in picking up anything else by him, he is originally he is a Swedish author. So his books are originally written in Swedish and are translated into English, but they're just so beautiful. The language he uses is just so beautiful. I say all the time, it makes me wish I was Swedish so I could read them in their original translation, but I just have to settle for the English. Thankfully, the English is stunning. And then my most anticipated release for the second half of the year. Guys, I feel like anyone that I get to speak to in person, this will come as no surprise, but it is Catabasis by R.F. Kuang. That book comes out in August, the end of August. I'm so excited. Let me know if I'm saying that word right. Catabasis? Catabasis? I think it's Catabasis. Let's find out how it's pronounced.
Catabasis.
Catabasis. Catabasis.
Catabasis is what I've been saying. Okay, Catabasis. My most anticipated read for this year is Guys, I want to say Catabasis. No. I want to say Catabasis. What does that sound like? It sounds like a place in LA. Where are the Kardashians from? Anyway, that's my most anticipated read for this year. I'm very excited. Catabasis means a hero's descent into hell, and the story follows 2 academic scholarly rivals that end up going to hell to save their professor, I think. I don't know if you're picking up what I'm putting down here, but I don't like to know too much about a book before I go into it, because I feel like the more you know, the less you're really influenced by the story, and you're kind of waiting for certain aspects to get going. So I can't really tell you a lot of what it's about. I can only tell you what I think it's about, and we both could be wrong. Feel free to go and actually read the synopsis. I'll link all the books I mention. Will I? I will. I'll link all the books I mention in the description below, so you will be able to read about them if you want to. I'm so excited to read it. I love R.F. Kuang and I love descent into hell stories, so I'm very excited for catabasis, however you want to say it. Who's right at the end? Who's to say they're right at the end of the day, guys? We can all say it how we want to say it. I will probably have to buy that one in hardback because I don't want to wait until I don't want to wait until it comes out in paperback. And I think Chris is going to want to read it at the same time. Sometimes we buddy read the same book, and we usually do it with new releases. We did it with Onyx Storm most recently, so we'll probably be doing it with Catabasis. The next question is biggest disappointment of the year so far, and this was easy. The worst book I've read this year is The Crash by Freida McFadden. You know what? Sorry, maybe this isn't easy. Let me give you the short list. We have The Crash by Freida McFadden, which was the most annoying book I think I've ever read. Guys, again, I did a summary in my February reading wrap up, so feel free to go and watch that one for what I thought about it. The main character was just so infuriating. I didn't even want to sit here and talk about her. That was my first Freida McFadden book, I think is why it was my biggest disappointment, because obviously you hear such good things about Freida McFadden. I have friends that enjoy Freida McFadden. My friend Nadine enjoys Freida McFadden. Girls from book club enjoy Freida McFadden. I'm not getting the hype because she's doing my head in. I read one today. I read The Tenant by Freida McFadden. Why did I predict the twist 20% of the way in? I just feel like a good thriller writer you can't predict the twist with, and I have in every single one of her books. Never Lie got me a little bit, and I gave it a higher rating for it because I was like, oh, I saw some of this but not all of this coming. Clearly it's not for me. But the issue is, they are so easy to read. I read The Tenant in a day. I understand why people love them so much, because it's as if you open the cover and all of a sudden you're done with the book. They're so quick to read and they're so digestible. So I think she gets props for that. I'm never rating her books 1 star because I think they have at least that going for them. But the characters aren't very likable. They rarely are in a thriller, but you usually have some want for them to do well whenever you're reading about them. And I never really experienced that with her books. But I will say another contender that could have got this award is The Plot Twist by... My throat's getting sore and sore by the minute. The Plot Twist by Eleanor Goymer, because I was really enjoying this book. It's a nice little fluffy romance about an author that's struggling to finish her book, so she kind of does a book swap situation with this other author, and then she meets this little cater waiter and she kind of starts to fall for him, but then she ends up keeping secrets and chaos ensues, romantic chaos ensues. It was nice. I was having a good time with it. See, the last however many chapters, I talked about this somewhat in my last vlog. The last few chapters, that male main character pissed me off so much. And you know what? Okay, spoilers ahead. Spoilers ahead. If you want to read the book, don't listen to me anymore. I'm going to talk about it now so I don't have to talk about it in my June reading wrap up. So they go through their third act breakup, as happens in a romance book. Oh no, there's 100 pages left of the book. I guess the couple has to break up now so they can get back together for the finale. A tale as old as time. And they get through that and they've reunited at the party and they're meant to just be together from now on. He's like, do you want to get out of here? Oh, my battery's about to die. Hold on. I'm actually just going to need to go with this for as long as I can because my charger won't stretch. He's like, do you want to get out of here? She's like, sure baby, take me away. We're all having a great time. Her ex-boyfriend shows up and is like, I've come to get back together with you. And she's like, what have you done that for? And he says, you wanted me to? Question mark. And she says, no I didn't. No, I didn't. And so she rejects him and sends him on his way. And then as she's doing this, the male main character drives past her. Like, he got in his van and drove off without her. And she says, where is he going? And then the ex-boyfriend is like, oh, that's the catering guy. Like, I helped him load up his van. And basically, it turns out that the ex-boyfriend told the new love interest that he was at this party to get back together with his ex-girlfriend, the female love interest. And so this random guy, I guess, shows up to this party and says to the male main character, yeah, I'm actually here to get back together with her. And so he's like, have her. I'm actually not that interested in her. I know I've told her to come out of this party and meet me at the front of the building, but I'm actually going to drive off without her and then just leave her there. In my head, he like drove through a puddle and like splashed her with water. I don't think that actually happened, but I'm like, what the fuck, dude? Like, that was just no communication at all, and couldn't be me, because boy do I love confrontation. I would have just gone back into that party and said, hi, can you explain yourself here? It's just this guy here thinks he's here to get back together with you. And you know what? As any boy that actually cares about their romantic interest should. I'm struggling to imagine how we spent that much of a book with this couple and rooting for this couple, and then that is how it ends. Obviously in the epilogue or whatever they get back together, but I didn't care by that point. I was like, don't get back together with him. He runs at the first sign of trouble. You don't want that boy in your life. Let him stay in his van, actually. drive off into the sunset. Maybe you should get back with the ex-boyfriend. Like, I was not rooting for them at all by the end of it, and it was literally just based on that. And so annoying as well, because the male main character has such an issue with, spends so much of it being like, people need to be upfront and honest, and I hate liars, and da 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 da. And then he doesn't even communicate his issues by the end of it, but she has to apologise for when she didn't communicate hers, or what she found. You know what? No, I didn't like it. It felt double standardsy to me. So that was a disappointment, because he was a disappointment. He was the biggest disappointment of the year, but by golly, so was The Crash. So I guess we have a tie for this one. And also, if anyone watching enjoyed those books, as is your right, as is your prerogative, I personally didn't, and that's all I'm going to say. The biggest surprise of this year goes to, I don't even think I have a shortlist. So Late in the Day would probably be a big surprise, because I wasn't expecting to love a 47-page long book that much. And Say Nothing might have been a surprise, because I didn't think I was going to enjoy a non-fiction book that much, and I did. But the biggest surprise actually goes to Bridge by Lauren Bukes, the other book I talked about in my last vlog. It is a sci-fi novel that I picked on Libby because it seemed to have an interesting premise. I was looking at a new audiobook. I hadn't really heard anything about it, but I thought I'd give it a chance. I'm so glad I did. Premise basically follows this girl who has lost her mum. Her mum either had brain cancer or a brain tumour, something along those lines, a terminal illness, and passed away. And so we're actually going through the point of view of the main character, the main character's best friend, a third character that knew the main character's mum, and then this low-key hunter that is searching for this group of people, because it turns out the mum has discovered a way to transport herself between different realities and the different versions of herself in all of these realities. So the main character starts to realise that maybe her mum isn't dead, maybe her mum has just gone into one of these other realities, and tries to follow her. And then unbeknownst to them, they are being chased by this hunter. It follows the same group of people but across many different realities. And low-key, I feel like in books with that type of storyline, the overall message is all your decisions make up who you are today, and here's how your life could be so different. And although that was the case, like there were drastic changes in all the lives, that wasn't the main takeaway from the book. The main takeaway is like, where the fuck is my mum? Is my mum actually dead? How is this possible? What's going on? And it was very well explained, I thought, but without getting too lost in the scientific jargon, which I feel like I read as well, Project Hail Mary, another sci-fi novel this year, and I loved it. It was so good, but sometimes I did feel a bit bogged down by the scientific mumbo jumbo jargon of it all. And I'm a woman in STEM, so sometimes I think whenever I'm going to my escapism, I don't want to be too bogged down in science. I spend my 9 to 5 in science. I'm actually fine for us to just skip over the logistics. But I feel like Bridge didn't really skip over the logistics. It had a very good reasoning for everything. It kind of had a mystery element because you left yourself, like the main character, wanting to find out how this was possible. And it was just so fun. It was so enjoyable. It felt resolved but in a very realistic way. I really enjoyed it, and I would recommend it to anyone else looking a sci-fi book and maybe is interested in other realities. Bridge by Lauren Bukes. I hope I'm saying her last name correctly because I've said it so many times now. I really recommend it, and it's on your Libby app at the minute. Probably with no wait because I didn't have to wait for it, so you should download it. Favourite new author, debut or new to you? I haven't read any new authors this year, guys. I don't think, and so I'm giving it to my newest author, who is Claire Keegan, from the books I've read this year. Sorry, I'm referring down to my iPad in case you're wondering what I'm looking at. I'm not being rude. Well, I am being rude, but that's the reason why I'm being rude. I give it to Claire Keegan because she is the newest author that I've encountered this year, in that I've read the fewest of her backlog and I'm most interested in reading more. I also read Night Bitch by Rachel Yoder, so I suppose she could be in this shortlist because I loved Night Bitch. It was so good. It's here. It was so good and so enjoyable and so well written. I really enjoyed that author. She's probably the newest to me, so it would be a toss up between Rachel Yoder and Claire Keegan. Technically, if I were to pick one, it would have to be Rachel Yoder because I haven't read any of her other works, but I want to give it to Claire Keegan because I love her and her work. I think she's amazing. And it's actually my video, so I make the rules, and I'm going to give it to Claire Keegan. Well done, Claire Keegan! Come and get your award! Newest favourite character. I don't even have a shortlist because as soon as I read this question, I knew the answer, and it's Rocky from Project Hail Mary. Project Hail Mary is a sci-fi. I don't want to give a summary of all the books that I've read this month in this because they're going to be in my June reading wrap up. So go to that if you want to hear what Project Hail Mary is about. and spoilers for if you want to read that book for what I'm about to talk about. For as long as this Project Hail Mary is up on the screen, I'm going to be talking about spoilers. I'll give you a second to click off. No, I'll give you a second to mute the video, and then when this goes away, you can unmute the video. Don't click off, obviously. Rocky is an alien that our main character, Ryland Grace, finds on his expedition into space. And I love that little guy. Can't wait for that movie to come out. I can't wait to see him in real life. Not in real life. I can't wait to see him in the movie. I loved the friendship between Rocky and Grace. Ryland, Grace. I don't know what to call him. I think it's just Grace. Towards the end of the book, Rocky's in a not good way. He's in trouble. And Ryland has to... Okay, I'm switching to Ryland. Ryland has to go and rescue him. And I had my heart was in my throat, like, hoping that we were going to get to Rocky in time. And I was just so scared for him. Fictional alien character, terrified human reader. I wanted him to be so safe, and therefore when I read this question and I thought, who is my favourite fictional character that I've read about recently? It was Rocky. Sharp as a tack. He was the only surviving member of his spacecraft from his planet, and it was just, I just really felt for him. I loved him so much, and he's my favourite fictional character thus far. And I'd really recommend Project Hail Mary if you're looking a sci-fi read. Not me with the sci-fi recommendations. I don't usually pick up a sci-fi, but I've been picking up sci-fis too, and they've been good. Guys, I'm so sorry. In my haste to get away earlier, take a Strepsil, Lemsip and a ginger shot, I actually forgot one of the questions, and it wasn't until I was asking Chris for his answers that I remembered about this one, so bear with me while I dial back in to address maybe the most important question, which is your newest fictional crush. Honourable mention goes to Josh Adams from Two Can Play by Ali Hazelwood and Hayden Anderson from Great Big Beautiful Life, because those boys were lovely to read about. Ali Hazelwood refuses to write about an ugly, undeserving of love man, and I really appreciate that for our main characters, obviously, and I really appreciate that. So obviously Josh is just a great guy, great career. He's a software developer. He falls for the female main character, game developer. He falls for the female main character who is a game developer for a rival company. They go away on a work retreat together. It's lovely, lovely stuff. New fictional crush. Hayden Anderson is putting the grumpy in the grumpy sunshine enemies to lovers that is Great Big Beautiful Life. He's an author, a world-renowned author, pretty sure he's won awards, me talking about this fake man, is trying to keep his distance from Alice, the female main character, because they're working on the same project together, and he doesn't want her to give him any ideas because he thinks it's unfair, because he wants her to have a good shot at getting it. Actually sounds a bit condescending now that I'm saying it out loud like that, but when you read the book, it's quite lovely. So love him. But the winner of this round is going to none other than Mickey 7. Mickey 7 specifically, and if we're talking movie, Mickey 17 specifically, because although I appreciate the later iterations were a bit more, I don't have the word, I like the original. And is my decision on this based on the fact that he's played by Robert Pattinson in the movie? Yeah it is. Also, what a year for sci-fi. What a year sci-fi is having in terms of my reading. Mickey 7, Project Hail Mary, Bridge, probably more before the year's out, only 6 months in. Mickey 7, he is an expendable on a space mission. Really all I have to say is that he's played by Robert Pattinson. That just did it, really. That solidified that he was going to be my fictional crush for these last 6 months. When I was asking Chris these questions, he was like, I don't really have fictional crushes. I went, ooh, that's crazy. Can't relate at all. Mickey 7 wins. And you know, actually, honourable mention for favourite fictional character is going to, oh, what are they called in Mickey 7? Those little squishy things. The creepers in Mickey 17. I think you can buy them now. You know how they weren't available for release? A little keychain creeper. Is this a fake website? Yeah, Mickey17plush.co.uk is a fake website, Victoria. Anyway. I'm going to go back to resting and taking a bunch of placebos to feel better, but I just had to come back and let you know. That was my answer to that one. So sorry for forgetting in the first place. Book that made you cry. I actually phoned Chris earlier, and I'm going to put that conversation in here as well. Hold on, I'll give you a minute to listen to that conversation.
Hello?
Hello, where were you?
I am so sorry, I was reading on my bed, like...
You had the what?
The hairdryer?
What was the hairdryer on for?
To heat me up. Makes me feel happy.
I needed you for something important, but it doesn't matter anymore, I guess. You were too busy with the hairdryer. Yeah.
Tell me.
Have I cried in any books this year?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
No, I'm pretty sure you haven't.
Maybe I'm getting tougher. Okay, well, I was just coming to check in case you remembered one, and I didn't.
Is it for your TikTok?
For my booktube. I see you later.
I see later.
I actually just paused in real life there, as if I wasn't just going to cut this and edit. Yeah, so I don't think I had a book that made me cry this year. The closest I probably got was Project Hail Mary, but I did this really psychotic thing when I was reading that book, and I skipped to the last page to see how things ended up because I was getting stressed out. So I didn't cry, but that was probably the closest I would have come. And Sunrise on the Reaping was also probably quite a close call, simply because I think the knowledge of what you know going into that book from what you have from the original series makes it hit so much harder. But like Chris said, there have been no tears so far in this first 6 months. It's maybe because I've been reading Sweet FA, but if I were to give it one to one, it would have to be Project Hail Mary, because if I didn't spoil that entire book for myself, then I probably would have cried. No winner for this one. And a book that made you happy. Again, if we are counting rereads, I'm going to count The Cruel Prince, because I reread that this year and it made me very happy. Besides it just being that book, me and Chris actually buddy read that whenever we were coming back from Prague, and it's so nice having a book that I really enjoy be experienced by him for the first time and hear his thoughts. And there is one point in that book where it gets a bit boring, and I'm aware, I agree, even rereading it I think it gets a bit boring, but then it all picks up in part 2, and seeing him experience it made it so much more enjoyable. So I would love to say it's going to that one, but because it's a reread I'm not counting it, and that means that the actual book it's going to is Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry. It could equally also go to Sunrise on the Reaping, but Sunrise on the Reaping didn't make me happy as much as I was just happy to have another Hunger Games book. I'm aware of the Sunrise on the Reaping erasure. It's not intentional, it's just not really the main contender in any of these groups, but you guys know I love me some Hunger Games. I love Hema Chapman. Like, I love it all. So don't be thinking I didn't enjoy that book, because I did. There have just been some big hitters recently, including Great Big Beautiful Life, which I have to give this award to, because guys, you've watched the video. It pulled me out of my slump. It pulled me out of my reading slump. Do you know how happy that made me to be out of the slump? We wouldn't be sitting here talking today if I hadn't got out of that slump. I would be sitting here, well, we would be, but it would be the shortest video in the world, because I'd be like, hey guys, what's going on? I didn't read any books this month. Okay, see you next month. Maybe that'll change. Like, Great Big Beautiful Life. I think the storyline, I know some people don't care as much about the Margaret storyline when they're reading this book, but I did. I was invested. It was giving Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. It was giving Daisy Jones and the Six. It was giving cults. It was giving marriage. It was giving enemies to lovers. It was giving Grumpy Sunshine. It was giving mystery. It was giving intrigue. It was giving I don't know why I'm yelling, but I just know some people didn't enjoy this book, and it had everything that I needed at that time in my life for me to enjoy it and pick up another book after it. So the award goes to Great Big Beautiful Life. Emily Henry, come and get your flowers, girl. Oh guys, I need to have a lamp sip after this, I think. Most beautiful book I've bought or received this year. I would say the winner probably is Frederick Backman. My friends, I just think this cover is stunning. I think the book is going to be stunning, and whenever it says most beautiful book you've received, I already know the words in this book. I have started it. I'm on chapter 3. I'm on chapter 3. But I just already know that this book is going to wreck me. It'll probably be the book that makes me cry. I'm so excited. I love it. I just, the fact that it's centered around a piece of art as well. Beautiful. I know the language is going to be beautiful, and the cover is beautiful. It's going to be a hard shot for any book to win over a Frederick Backman book, and I really tried to make all the winners of these categories different, even though I know I've repeated a lot of the same names. But I'm going to have to give most beautiful book to Frederick Backman, because he is that guy. He's going to write a beautiful book and I'm going to eat it up, and I'd urge you all to do the same. I'm not going to sing his praises anymore because I think I've done enough. And the last category question that we have is, what books do you need to read before the end of the year? And obviously I'm going to count all the books that I've already said in my most anticipated and my new releases that I need to read this year. A few additional ones I want to tie in there. Deep End and Problematic Summer Romance by Ellie Hazelwood. I really want to read both of them. I really enjoy her books and they're so fun. So those two for sure. And also when the paperback edition of Somewhere Beyond the Sea, which is book 2 to the House on the Cerulean Sea series. I need to read that this year. I'm so excited for it coming out in paperback. I've been resisting because I really want to buy a paper copy so that it matches my paper copy of House on the Cerulean Sea. Why did I just forget the name? That's it for the tag, guys. I'm sorry this one was a bit lower energy. I actually had plans for it to be much higher energy. It is the mid-year freakout tag, but I'm just not feeling too well. I was going to put on makeup for this video, and then I just thought, you guys wouldn't want me to do that. If I'm not feeling well, you would not want me to go and get ready to film a video. You would want me to just come as I am, would you not? The next video you see from me, hopefully I'm healthier. I'll have more updates on the books I've read recently. I know I kind of gave a synopsis on some of the books that I've read there, but the June reading wrap up I think will be more enjoyable for all of us, for me to film and for you guys to watch. That being said, this has been the mid-year freakout tag, and I'm so thankful that you've clicked on this video. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it, and I cannot wait to talk to you about some more books. It might be via cards that I'll hold up, because if my throat feels like this time next week, I'm not sure how I'm going to do it, but I will do my best for you. If you guys had any better answers to any of these questions, actually please do let me know, because some of them I was really struggling with. If you've had a book that's made you cry this year, please let me know so I can cry too. I want to cry. I'm being silly now. I need to go. Love you guys. Thank you so much for clicking on this, and I will see you next Wednesday, if not earlier. I am sick, so maybe not earlier, but definitely next Wednesday. Okay, bye.